Hey everyone, welcome to What Was That? I'm Gabe Sanchez. Snake oil salesman and Trump presidential plant Vivek Ramaswamy went on Mehdi Hasan's show and got absolutely destroyed by simple questions.
Did you not make $750,000?
On the financial piece of it. Not at the time that I had applied for the scholarship that fall.
Yes, you did.
That December.
Yes, you did, Vivek. This is awkward for you because you did. I've got the tax returns in front of my face.
No, it's not.
Now, as we jump into Vivek's embarrassing and awkward interview, it's important to remember that there are three truths in life. 1. Papyrus is the worst font in the world. 2. Donald Trump is way heavier than 215 pounds. And 3. You don't go on Mehdi Hasan's show thinking that you're going to win a debate. I mean, the guy literally wrote the book, Win Every Argument, The Art of Debating, Persuading, and Public Speaking, which I highly recommend. So here's what happened. Vivek went on Mehdi's show thinking that he's actually good at debating. Kind of like how he thinks that he's good at rapping.
It ain't about thee. It isn't about me. It is about thee. The United States is about liberty.
I mean, he is such a good lyricist, he even has Steve Doocy awkwardly bobbing his head around.
Say, my name's Vivek. It rhymes with cake.
You know what else rhymes with Vivek? Fake. And then somehow it got worse. He rhymed trail with trail.
So Fox and friends, join us on the trail. We'll have some fun. I'll see you out the trail.
He even thinks that he's good at rapping Eminem songs.
Loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out.
Vivek's rapping is so bad that Eminem sent him a cease and assist, not only because it was a crime against humanity, but also because Vivek's Trump-like America First ideologies are the complete opposite of Eminem's beliefs. Kinda like how Dr. Dre sent Marjorie Taylor Greene a cease and assist. You know, I swear, Republicans just need to stick to their awful MAGA rappers and not ruin the genre for everyone else. And at Vivek's core, he's just a boring Republican without any substance, experience, or ideas of his own. I mean, just the other day at the Republican primary debate, Vivek was caught plagiarizing President Barack Obama's speech from the 2004 DNC.
Who the heck is this skinny guy with a funny last name, and what the heck is he doing in the middle of this debate stage?
The hope of a skinny kid with a funny name who believes that America has a place for him too.
It actually reminds me of how Melania Trump plagiarized Michelle Obama's speech back in 2016. You know, for a political party that complains about Democrats, Republicans sure love to claim that Democrats work as their own. Republicans did it with President Biden's infrastructure bill, and I'm sure that they'll do it again with Medicare negotiating lower drug prices under the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, when it comes to this interview, I don't know who planned it, but it was a
Bad idea.
I mean, here's a preview of it.
Let's actually have a substantive conversation. Do you want to have a substantive conversation about what should have happened? Or do you want to play a game of gotcha? Because you have the choice. The choice is yours. Do you actually want to have a substantive conversation? If you do, I'm down to do it. Do you want a substantive conversation? What we need.
You said substantive 4 times.
Actually, if you want to...
Vivek's debate style is very simple and predictable, much like the GOP. He makes absurd statements, denies he made them, claims they're out of context, spliced, or manipulated by the mainstream media, and then plays victim. Does that remind you of anyone? But anyway, Vivek's main debate tactic is to filibuster so he can prevent anyone from getting their point across. Because if they can't finish their argument, then Vivek believes that he won. However, it actually makes Vivek look like a petulant child who's too afraid to have a real conversation when challenged about his lackluster qualifications. And the best way to defeat Vivek's tactic is to provide full context and receipts, which is exactly what Mehdi did.
You made your name and made a lot of your early big money from pushing an Alzheimer's drug that had already failed 4 clinical trials when you bought it. You then talked it up on CNBC, in Forbes, on the cover. Your company's subsidiary shot up by billions in value when it went public in 2015. But then the drug failed its phase 3 trial on your watch. The company lost 75% of its value in a single day. Ordinary investors like the California State Teachers Pension Fund lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you cashed out beforehand via your parent company to the tune of, I believe, over $37 million. Your critics say it's a classic pump and dump scheme. What do you say to them?
Yeah, Mehdi, that's the standard opposition research during politics reading line.
See, Vivek is already playing victim in claiming that everything is opposition research. And keep in mind, this is just the beginning of their interview.
You mentioned stage 3 trials. The Alzheimer's drug failed it after you did a lot of touting of it.
For context, Vivek acquired the drug for $5 million in December 2014, 6 months before the IPO after the majority of phase 2 trials had failed to meet their primary endpoints in 2010.
We did not hype the drug. To the contrary, actually, one of the things that I found
this week.
And the only way to make his money back was to hype up Axivant on shows like Mad Money with Jim Cramer.
And so the way the drug works is been demonstrated in clinical trials. In a large phase 2 study, phase 2B study with 684 patients, multinational, double-blind, placebo-controlled study.
Once again, context matters with Vivek the Illusionist. Vivek's mother, Dr. Gabe Ramaswamy, conducted the new Phase 2 trial in 2015 involving those 684 subjects, which conveniently claimed to show sufficient improvement to support Phase 3 trials.
Suspicious.
And this is the key on the pre-specified analysis, not some type of reanalysis or subgroup analysis, but on the pre-specified analysis, the drug actually demonstrated statistically significant improvements in both cognition and in function.
When I see a red hot stock, I don't want to get people hurt. You know that.
Absolutely.
And it's going to, you got one drug and, everyone hopes that it works.
Needless to say, people did get hurt, and Vivek fleeced investors knowing the drug wouldn't work. He is, and always will be, smoke and mirrors with no real success to his name. For example, Roivant's finances were atrocious under Vivek's watch. In 2019, the company's net operating loss was greater than $530 million. And by 2020, the losses had doubled to over $1 billion with a 65% decline in revenue. I also want to point out that Vivek is friends with Martin Shkreli, aka Pharma Bro.
People do this in pharma every day, and my friend, and at the time it was actually my biggest investor, Vivek Ramaswamy, he's now running for president. He basically took our business model and supersized it. And again, who influenced who is a matter, well, really left to history.
Now, if you thought his business record was horrendous, just listen to his thoughts about Mike Pence's role on January 6th.
You're an advocate, your critics say, of fantasy politics, of magical thinking. They say you propose stuff that can't be done. For example, you said on Meet the Press the other week that if you had been in Mike Pence's place on January the 6th, you would have insisted on first passing a bill that night to bring in single-day voting on election day with paper ballots.
That's inaccurate.
Government issued
I never
ID.
said that night.
And there it is again. Vivek is trying to prove that he didn't say something, even though he's about to be proven wrong to his face.
On your Chuck Todd splice script, in all of my written statements and everything I've said,
hold on, we're playing the clip right
in
now.
that period
Let's play the clip.
Between the election. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on election day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID matching the voter file. And if we achieve that, then we have achieved victory, and we should not have any further complaint about election integrity.
So what would you have done
through the Senate?
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform. Then on that condition, certified the election results, served it up to the president, President Trump, then to sign that into law, and on January 7th, declared the re-election campaign pursuant to a free and fair election.
Multiple people wondered about your knowledge of how Congress works, suggesting Mike Pence, by the way, on the debate stage asked you if you would have supported what he did. It's not an MSNBC question. It's a Republican vice president question.
Yes.
This would also be the same Republican debate where Vivek was making wild statements and acting rather odd. At one point, he was doing this weird thing with his hands while Ron DeSantis was monotonously yelling at the audience. Vivek's hand is fidgeting so much that he looks like a baby bird trying to flutter its wings. Look, I'm not sure if Vivek was feeling anxious on stage or if he just has a habit of doing this all the time with his hands, but either way, I think he could benefit from using the Fume. Let's talk about those annoying quirks that we call bad habits. You know, the ones that make your grandma raise an eyebrow and cause your dog to give you that judgy side eye. That's right, we all got them. Some of us bite our fingernails, other people chew on pens, and, well, if you're like me, you constantly crack your knuckles. It's a habit I've been trying to break since I was a kid, and nothing has worked. And that was the case until I got myself a Fume. So if you've got a bad habit that you're also trying to kick, Fume can help. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. Instead of electronics and tangled wires, Fume is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses cores with delicious, all-natural flavors. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and a magnetic end cap, so your fingers always have something to do. And honestly, I didn't expect much out of Fume when I got it, but its super sleek design and all-natural flavors have been a breath of fresh air when it comes to breaking my bad habits. Really, the easiest way to break a bad habit is to switch to a positive one, and Fume is designed perfectly to do just that. Fume has served over 100,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, including myself, and there is no reason that can't be you. So what are you waiting for? Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use code GABE to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com and use code GABE to save an additional 10% off your order today. Anyway, back to Vivek's insane January 6th idea. An idea that would never pass in 2 months, let alone during a lame duck session. Though, I think the funniest claim that Vivek continues to make is that despite having no foreign policy experience, He knows exactly how to handle Vladimir Putin.
Because Putin does not enjoy being Xi Jinping's little brother. Mehdi, you're a smart guy. Look at what he's done. He's actually sent weapons to both India and Vietnam right after the February 2022 meeting he had with Xi Jinping. There are cracks in that armor, but we need to actually open our eyes to see the opportunity staring us in the face.
We will have to agree to disagree whether we think that you can persuade Vladimir Putin to drop his alliance with Xi Jinping.
Maybe Vivek is hoping that if he doesn't call Putin a war criminal, he'll be nice to him.
I think that Putin is a dictator, and I think that there are open questions that need to be adjudicated by the ICCJ. We have an ICCJ for a reason.
But do you believe he's a war criminal?
We have to get the facts before we get to the bottom of that.
Again, Vivek sounds exactly like Trump.
If you say he's a war criminal, it's going to be a lot tougher to make a deal to get this thing stopped. Because if he's going to be a war criminal where people are going to go and grab him and execute him, he's going to fight a lot harder than he's fighting, under the other circumstance. That's something to be discussed at a later date.
But then again, how can you trust Vivek, especially when he is notorious for lying?
You have made truth the centerpiece of your campaign. So let's talk about your trustworthiness.
Yes.
For example, when CNN quoted you talking to The Atlantic about 9/11 and federal agents possibly being on the planes, you said the quote is wrong, actually. But the quote wasn't wrong. The Atlantic released the audio of what you saying exactly what they said you said.
I mean, Vivek is such a huge liar that even his truth sign is fighting back.
And during that speech, the sign behind him actually fell on him for a moment.
Vivek getting hit over the head with a giant truth sign is the irony that I need right now. And if there is a God, your karmic timing could not be better. The actual truth is that The Atlantic literally released the full portion of that tape and exposed Vivek as a liar, but he didn't like that because he lost control of his fake narrative. Just like how Vivek tried to position himself as an anti-George Soros crusader, but the only problem is Vivek had accepted scholarship money from George Soros' brother.
You say you are anti-identity politics, anti-affirmative action in a party that hates the Soros name, yet you accepted a Paul and Daisy Soros scholarship at law school that was specifically set up for the children of immigrants. It was an affirmative action scholarship, and your defense for that is that you didn't have the money to pay for law school, even though you'd already made over $1 million at the time and made another $2 million.
My defense of that is somebody gives you a merit scholarship at the age of 24, you take it. At the age of 24, somebody gives you a merit scholarship, you take it. I didn't say I didn't have the money. I said at a time when I had a lot less money than now, $50,000
you said exactly I didn't have the money, Vivek. You keep forgetting your quote. You said, when I didn't have the money.
Vivek Ramaswamy, the self-proclaimed champion of colorblind meritocracy, has not only benefited from affirmative action when it comes to his scholarship, but also when it comes to attending Harvard. He claims to be anti-woke by condemning any and all ESG and DEI programs, which is a little weird when you remember that his company Roivant implemented a DEI initiative called Roivant Social Ventures while he was CEO.
What?
Not only that, but Vivek announced his candidacy for the White House less than 2 weeks after he paid someone to have his Soros Fellowship and COVID-era role scrubbed from his Wikipedia page.
Very suspicious.
And then Mehdi pulled out the literal receipts, Vivek's tax returns.
It's something Trump should learn from
transparency is important.
Look,
it's already open and everybody can see it.
Exactly. We have 2009
But the fact of the matter is, you know what I would advise every...
Hold on, you told me to look at them.
24-year-old should take
2009
$50,000.
and 2010, you made $750,000. You had the money to pay for law school. You didn't need a Soros affirmative action scholarship that you now criticize.
I mean,
this interview could not be more of a rake step for Vivek.
Not at the time that I had applied for the scholarship that fall.
Yes, you did.
That December.
Yes, you did, Vivek. This is awkward for you because you did. I've got the tax returns in front of my face.
But the cherry on top was Mehdi bringing up Vivek's old tweets, writings, and his criticisms of Donald Trump.
You say he behaved in downright abhorrent behavior that makes him a danger to democracy. What was it that was downright? Tell me what he did that was downright abhorrent.
And you're avoiding my question. We need to be able to tell the difference in this country.
What did Donald Trump do,
no, I'm not avoiding
in your view, that was downright abhorrent? Second time I'll ask that question.
On January 7th,
I'll ask it a third time.
That's exactly the thing I would have done.
What did Trump do that was egregious, quote, downright abhorrent, and a danger to democracy? Can you just explain to our viewers? Your words.
That is not a crime, though, what he did.
I understand.
And the reason I have been so vehement...
You keep saying what you would have done. I just want to hear from your mouth. No, unless you're scared of him.
Let's play that beautiful moment again.
You keep saying what you would have done. I just want to hear from your mouth. No, unless you're scared of him, why won't you say what he did that was downright abhorrent?
I'm not going to let you stitching together three things from three different places to create a caricature. Do you want to have an actual conversation?
Yes, I want you to answer my question, Vivek. Three times I've asked it. What did Trump do that was downright abhorrent? It's a simple question. It's your words. It's on screen. What did he do that was downright abhorrent?
That is why I'm in this race, is to do things differently than any prior president has done them. That's the hard truth, okay?
And that's what made him a sore loser and abhorrent.
The media
yes, your words.
But the biggest red flag with Vivek is that he will never criticize Donald Trump right now. Whenever he's asked to, he just dodges the question. I mean, Vivek was the first one to rush to Trump's defense after his indictments, promising that he would pardon Trump if elected. And that's because Vivek is not an actual candidate. He's just a libertarian-turned-Republican spoiler candidate for Trump and is running on a platform of fake outrage. Vivek is also trying to use his presidential campaign as an excuse to wiggle out of legal proceedings against him. Just another example of Vivek acting like Trump. And when it comes to this interview, it is a masterclass. Mehdi listens to the answer, understands that Vivek is avoiding the question, and then asks the question again. And if it wasn't clear before, it should be abundantly clear from watching this interview. Vivek Ramaswamy is nothing more than a grifting charlatan in clown makeup. So now, my only question is, will the real Vivek Ramaswamy
please stand up, please stand up, please stand up?
Well, that's all for me today. Thanks so much for watching, and feel free to connect with me at I am Gabe Sanchez. But before I go, I want to remind everyone that you can support this show by signing up for my Patreon. As a member, you'll get access to episodes before they go public, a live weekend show, Q&As, and discounted merch. To subscribe, go to patreon.com/IamGabeSanchez. So until next episode, I'm Gabe Sanchez, and this has been What Was That?